Hey knitting peeps, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Lisa, aka bopeepknits if we haven't met before. I'm a beginner knitter based in Canada, and today's video is quite the special one. It's going to be all about my very first test knit. I recently applied to be a test knitter for the Brie boatneck by Emma of midsummerknits. She is a knitwear designer based in the States. And she is very well known for her ultra popular pattern, the heartless top, which I've featured on my channel before. And I do have that pattern. Side note, I do really want to knit it up. As a beginner knitter, I was always a little bit hesitant to apply for test knits just because I felt that I am still very new to knitting and maybe my input wouldn't be as valuable to knitwear designers. But when I saw Emma post about her Brie boatneck on Instagram, I was instantly drawn to it. I thought that the top was just so beautiful. I loved the gradient yarn that she used for the Brie boatneck, and so I was feeling a little bit inspired. Everything about the Brie boatneck really appealed to me. Firstly, a girl loves a good boatneck. I knitted one singular boatneck summer top, the spy top, and I really liked it and had thought about maybe knitting another boatneck summer top for my trip to Asia in the spring. And as soon as I saw Emma's post, I thought that this was just a very interesting timing of events. And I just thought, why not? The worst that she could say is no. But I applied and I was just so excited to hear that Emma selected me as a tester. So honestly, that news just made my whole entire week. I was just so excited to be a part of this test knitting process that I just went out to my local yarn store the very next day to buy yarn for the Brie boatneck. I wanted to make sure that I was a good test knitter though, so I didn't want to buy yarn that wouldn't work for this pattern. I asked Emma in advance if she had any fiber preferences for the Brie boatneck, just because her original sample for her top, she used a wool blend yarn. I think it was like a 70% wool, 30% nylon blend yarn to make her Brie boatneck. And so I was kind of hoping to go with a silk or a cotton yarn just because I wanted to wear this top during the summer. And if you know anything about Canadian summers, it is so hot and so humid. And obviously, if I was going to wear this top during my Asia trip as well, we're going to Vietnam and China, both very hot and humid countries. I just know that if I were to knit my Brie boatneck in wool, I would actually pass away. So I wanted to go with a more breathable summer yarn for my Brie boatneck. I asked her in advance if she had any preferences, and she did say that she does recommend choosing a fiber with elasticity, oh my god, for the fit of the top. But she did encourage me to try whatever yarn that I wanted, and so I'm crossing my fingers and my toes that my yarn choice works out for the top. I was super inspired to knit my Brie boatneck with a gradient yarn as well. And so I will be using the Noro Silk Garden yarn in the color 491. I think the name is Yatomi, but I will have to confirm on that. And this yarn is a beautiful blend of 45% silk, 45% mohair, and 10% wool. So I have never used any yarn from Noro before. I'm very excited. And it is quite an interesting yarn just from touching the skein. The wool feels very dry to the touch. And there is some bounce to it. So I'm really hoping that there is some elasticity in this yarn, and that I really hope that I don't regret picking a non-wool based yarn for this top. But you can kind of see here that the Noro yarn is a gradient yarn. It starts off with this very dark, kind of cool toned pink, which I'm not really sure really works with my complexion, but whatever. So we start off with this darker, like cool toned pink, and then we go into this like lighter pink into this like beige and the tan, and then this beautiful lime green, and then into this like little darker green here. And I think eventually we do hit a red as well. So very interesting gradient colors. I normally wouldn't really gravitate towards this kind of yarn, like a gradient yarn at all. But like I mentioned, I am super inspired by Emma's Brie boatneck, and I really wanted to try out a gradient yarn for my own Brie boatneck. The size that I'm testing for is a size 4, and originally when I applied to do the test knits, I selected the option to do the bust shaping just because I thought that that was super interesting. I've never seen bust shaping or bust starts in a summer top before, and I wanted to try it out. But when I got the pattern and looked at the measurements that I took for my full bust and my high bust, I actually found out that I don't need to do the bust shaping for my size. And so I don't need to do that. But I do really like that the Brie boat neck, there are so many options for you to customize the look of your top. There's a split hem option. Obviously, there is the bust shaping if that is something that you need for your size. And also there is waist shaping as well, which is really, really interesting. I might actually look into doing that option for this test knit. I do want to note that this project vlog is a test knitting project vlog, so I'm not working off the final pattern of the Brie boat neck, but I'll make sure to link the version that is available for purchase in the description box so that you can buy the pattern and we can all look super, super cute in our Brie boat neck tops in the summer. So I think that's it for this intro. Let's go ahead with the swatching and get started on my very first test knit. So it's a couple of days later. I'm here to check back in on my gauge and show you guys where I'm at so far. So this is my swatch that I finished knitting and blocking a couple of days ago. The pattern gauge is 20 stitches by 29 rows, and I'm happy to share that I perfectly met gauge, both stitch gauge and row gauge, which usually never happens. However, I did have to size down on my needles. So the gauge was 20 stitches by 29 rows on 4.5 millimeter needles, but I sized down quite a bit to 3.5 to be able to meet gauge. And I'm a loose knitter, so I know that I usually have to size down, but I was quite surprised to see that I had to size down a whole entire needle size. So after blocking, my gauge remained the same. The fabric is just a lot more relaxed, and I can tell that the stitches, even though the yarn is kind of uneven in certain places, the stitches didn't show any gaping or anything like that. As a tester, it's super important to be able to meet gauge. I wanted to do a good job, and so I was a little bit worried that I wouldn't be able to meet gauge. Thankfully, I did, and so there are hopefully going to be no issues with my Brie boat neck moving forward. So I've already started working on my Brie boat neck. This is my progress so far. Actually, I think it's supposed to be like this. I think the top is supposed to sit like this. And you can see the gradient starting to form a little bit. So I completed the first few rows and did the optional German short row shaping in the front. And now I'm just working away on the top. I think I'm supposed to knit this until it measures 14 centimeters around. And then after that, I think I'm supposed to work on the armhole shaping. I will have to check on that. But yeah, just knitting away. It's not looking like much at the moment, and so I will check back in when I make a lot more progress. So my Brie boat neck is really coming along. I finished my back panel and my front panel as well. So in the pattern, you work on the back panel first, and that's what I did. So this is what my back panel is looking like. And there's a little bit of curling, plus this interchangeable cord is kind of in the way, so I can't really show you the back panel in its entirety, but I really like the gradient of the back panel. And in the pattern, you have the option to do the German short rows, and so that's what I did for the back of the top. And I also worked on the front panel of the brie boatneck as well. So as you can see, this is the front panel here. And for this front of the top, I did not work the German short rows because I felt that you don't really need to do German short rows in the front. Now that I have these two panels, all I have to do now is to join the shoulder seams together. And so in the pattern, we're supposed to use mattress stitch to seam up both sides of the shoulders. So I need to do that. I'm really liking the yarn that I used in terms of how the gradient is worked up. And I really love the colors. The only thing that I don't like too much about the yarn is that I don't like how it was spun. And so I didn't really realize it, but the Noro Silk Garden yarn is a single spun yarn. And so there are certain points in the yarn where it is thinner than a worsted weight. So it can kind of jump from worsted to DK, DK to worsted, worsted to fingering. And it's just kind of frustrating to kind of work with that kind of unpredictable yarn at times. And so I found myself having to snip out the fingering weight portions of the yarn so that I can maintain a more consistent gauge with my brie boatneck. The other thing that I don't like so much about the yarn is that I often find twigs and rocks in the Silk Garden yarn, and I don't know if it is specific to the lot that I have with the color that I bought, but I'm not a huge fan of that because it just kind of takes away from the knitting experience. You're kind of like in the flow of knitting, and then you are rudely interrupted by a small pebble or a twig. And it's just kind of really annoying to have to pause the knitting and like remove the rock or the twig or whatever. Despite those things, I do really like the way that the yarn looks. Like the gradient is just absolutely beautiful. So this is the front panel of the top, and as you can see, it works up from this lovely like dark pink color into this lighter pink color, this beigey tan, and then into this like kind of matcha color. Then we have this like pistachio sort of neon green, this darker sort of emerald green here. And then we get this lovely purple, and there is a little bit of yarn left. So we do hit a little bit of the red, but I didn't get to that point in the yarn yet. And I'm sure when I join the two panels in the round, that is when you will get to see the red part of the gradient here. So far, my experience as a test knitter for the brie boatneck has been positive. I really like that Emma kind of put us all in a group, and so we kind of have each other to chat with, and I can kind of see how other people's experiences have been so far knitting it up. I haven't had any issues with the pattern. I think that it is pretty clear. I'm really enjoying this test knitting experience, and I just wish that I was more of a faster knitter so I can kind of make progress and show everybody where I'm at as well. Yeah, so I hope to make a lot more progress this week, and I will check in when I do have some. Hey everybody, it's the next day and I have a really exciting update to share with you guys. So I finally was able to join my brie boatneck in the round. But let's backtrack a little bit. So what I did first was that I seamed the two shoulders using mattress stitch, and I've done mattress seaming before, so I didn't have any issues with this part, thankfully. And after you seam the two shoulders together, or the two panels together to form the shoulders, you seam the underarm stitches on both sides. So I did that using Kitchener stitch as per the pattern, and it was actually my first time doing Kitchener stitch, and I feel like I did a pretty good job, like all things considered. The yarn does look a little bit slubby, and so the uneven texture makes the stitches or the seaming look a little bit messy, but I feel like I did a pretty good job, all things considered, especially for a beginner. After doing the Kitchener stitches, I joined the top in the round, and so I'm just knitting away at the moment, trying to make as much progress as I can. And I do have a little bit of yarn left, so I need to attach my third ball of yarn. So from here in the pattern, you have the option to do the bust shaping, and as you continue to knit, you can do the waist shaping as well. And you also have the option at the end to do the split hem, or you can do a regular hem. And so I'm going to knit a little bit more to decide whether or not I want to do the waist decreases. For my particular size, I don't need to do the bust shaping, and so I'm going to opt out of that option. But yeah, I do need to knit in the round a little bit more for me to see how this top will fit on me. Because the composition of this yarn is mostly silk, there is 10% wool, but I don't know if there is enough wool to make this top stretchy. And so I don't want to make my waist super small and then have the top be uncomfortable. So I want to make sure that I'm able to try it on and kind of see from there how this top will look on me, and then I can assess whether or not I want to do the waist decreases as well as the split hem. Unfortunately, I do have another complaint about this yarn. And so to backtrack again, when I was doing the mattress seaming and the Kitchener stitches on this top, I found that the yarn was a little bit difficult to work with because it is a single spun yarn. And so there just isn't as much integrity in the yarn threads. And so when I was seaming and going through the different stitches, there is going to be some friction, right, in between the little stitches and the yarn thread. And so after a while, the thread would actually rip. And so it just got really annoying to work with because it actually tore 3 times when I was doing well, it tore once when I was doing the mattress seaming because you have to pull the thread to tighten the seaming. And so it tore once when I was doing the mattress stitches, but then it tore twice when I was doing the Kitchener stitches, and it was just really a nuisance to work with. I wanted to be transparent with you guys and let you guys know that that did happen to me. Hopefully it doesn't happen with you if you use the same yarn. But I would advise to anybody who does want to use Noro Silk Garden, definitely be a little bit more gentle. But overall, I'm really enjoying my test knit. The Brie boatneck has just been a really fun knit to knit up. And I'm just really, really loving how it looks right now. I will say that the front gradient doesn't look as good as the back one. Oops, it's like curling up. But look at how stunning these colors are. Absolutely beautiful. And so I'm excited to see how the finished top will look. Speaking of finished top, I don't even know if I mentioned that the deadline for this test knit is December 8th. And so it's October 22nd today. And I feel like I've made quite a lot of progress. So I might be able to finish this top like way before the deadline. We'll see, but I'm hoping that I will be able to finish this top soon. So I will check back in when I get a chance. It's Halloween, hence the heavier blush, but I wanted to check in on my Brie boatneck. This is where I'm at right now. So I made quite a lot of progress working in the round here. I will say that since working on this top in the round, I much prefer the look of the top when it's actually knit flat. So at the top here, this is where I knitted flat, right? So the gradient actually looks more seamless. And then this is the part where I joined the 2 panels, the front and the back, in the round. And so from here onwards, it just kind of looks like stripes. I'm not the biggest fan of that look just because it just doesn't look as seamless as the top of the top. And I think it's because the yarn has to travel so much further when going around the circumference of the body versus when you knit flat, it just goes back and forth. What I noticed is that each of the skeins actually had different percentages of each of the colors in the gradient. And so it was really hard for me to kind of distribute the colors to make it look like a more even gradient. And so that's another complaint that I have about this yarn. I think that it is very beautiful when knitted flat, but when knitting in the round, it just kind of looks like stripes. While we're on the topic of the Noro Silk Garden yarn, I will have to say that the whole entire farm is in that skein of yarn. So I'm getting twigs, hay, leaves, rocks. Like, I'm not a fan. Like, I'm tired of it. I'm tired of working with this yarn. It looks beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know if like the experience of knitting with this yarn is worth it. And it is quite unfortunate because I am going to Japan early spring. And so if I like fell in love with this Noro yarn, I would have totally filled my entire suitcase with it. But your girl gonna be staying far away from Noro yarn while in Japan. So this is the brie boat neck on me. I feel so exposed right now with my midriff. And so I do need to knit a little bit more so that the length is to my liking. This is what the side looks like. Now, I didn't think that the Noro Silk Garden is a rustic type of yarn, but on the body, it does feel slightly itchy, and I think it might be because of the mohair composition, but it's not too bad, and I feel like it might get a little bit softer after blocking. I did want to do a split hem on my brie boat neck. And of course, I want to be a good test knitter and like test all of the elements in the pattern. So I have this amount of this red yarn. There is a little bit of purple going into it, and then it is just mostly red. And so I have this left, which would look good as like a solid, kind of stripe, but I don't think I would be able to evenly distribute this red colored yarn if I were to do the front split of the hem and then the back split of the hem as well, just because there wouldn't be enough yarn. I do have a little bit of other yarn, like I have this medium pink or like the red going into the medium pink, and then this lighter peachy pink going into the brown. And I do have some green yarn left as well, but I don't think that it would be enough to make it look like a gradient. Like it would just kind of look, like stripey. So final decision, I think I will just do a regular hem on the top, just because I kind of have to decide now if I'm going to do the split hem. And so I'll do that. And then after doing the regular hem, once I'm at a good length to kind of bind off, the next step is to do an I-cord bind off. And I think this is my first time doing an I-cord bind off, so that'll be interesting. Hopefully my next update will be, with the finished brie boat neck. And so I will check back in at that point. So I wanted to film my final thoughts on my brie boat neck and my first ever test knitting experience much earlier. However, I actually injured my wrist while doing some home renos. Yes, I'm Bo Peep the Builder. Also, my brie boat neck was taking forever to dry on the blocking mats, but I'm happy to say that I finally have it. It is dry and it is super cute. I'm honestly over the moon with how it turned out. I love my brie boat neck. I think that it is super flattering on me. Love the neckline. The colors are absolutely beautiful and it fits perfectly. The entire knitting experience has been great. I didn't run into any issues at all. I thought that the pattern was pretty clear and very well written. And I actually learned two new things with this pattern. The first being the Kitchener stitch, which was done at the underarms here when seaming the two panels together. And the second thing that I learned was how to do an I-cord bind off, which was used to bind off the top at the very bottom here. I would say that it was actually my favorite part in the pattern. Even though it was my first time, I actually really liked doing it. It wasn't hard at all. It was a little bit hard on the hands though, I will admit, but I really like the clean look of the I-cord bind off. I think it really ties everything together. In the previous clips, you probably saw that I was playing the game of yarn chicken for the very first time. I bought 4 skeins of yarn, which equated to 400 meters. And in the pattern, Emma listed 440 meters for my size. And honestly, I normally don't play yarn chicken. I usually have 1 or 2 skeins left over. I buy extra just in case. However, I knew with 100% confidence and in my heart that I only needed 400 meters of yarn. And so I just decided to buy 4 skeins anyway. Let me tell you though, playing yarn chicken while binding off is not for the weak of heart. And I was praying that I had enough yarn, and thankfully I won the game of yarn chicken with only 1 gram left. I had a feeling I could pull it off though, just because I am on the shorter side. Your girl is 5'1", so much shorter than the average person. And so typically in patterns, I don't end up using the full amount of yarn that's listed. However, if you are taller than 5'1", I highly suggest that you follow Emma's recommendation that is listed in her brie boatneck pattern. I absolutely enjoyed knitting up my brie boatneck, and I'm currently on the hunt for yarn to knit up a second brie boatneck. And so I don't know when that will happen. I have to, look for another yarn. We all know that I'm not going to use this Noro silk garden ever again. Although I will say that, I don't know if I mentioned this, sorry you guys, but the yarn actually is not itchy at all now that it's fully blocked. But I don't know if I'm going to work with this yarn again. I'm sorry, I really don't want to be a hater. Now on to spilling the tea on this test knitting experience. Just kidding. There's no tea to share. Just looking back at this experience, I didn't really know what to expect coming into this test knitting group just because I am on the shy side. I am quite introverted. She says as she is broadcasting herself on YouTube for all to see. But yeah, I am on the shy side, and so I was a little bit worried, to be honest, that everyone was going to be super extroverted and the group chat would be popping off like 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I was worried that I wouldn't be able to keep up with all of the messages. But it's been pretty chill. Like, people are super nice in the chat and very helpful. It felt like being in this like exclusive, like secret exclusive knit along. And I really like that. Yeah, everyone's super sweet, and I hope that we all continue to keep in touch and stuff after this test knit. So I'm a beginner knitter, in case you have not heard, but I am very happy that I got this opportunity to test knit for Emma. I hope I contributed enough. I wish I had more to say about her pattern other than it's amazing and everyone should knit it, but yeah, like I wrote her a little report. I don't know if that's like normal for test knitters. I think Emma really did an amazing job with this brie boatneck pattern. I could really tell just based on how she organized this test knitting group and how she wrote the pattern. Like, it's honestly very inspiring. I could never do it. Truly, like, she is so talented and smart. I'm just thinking about all the calculations that she has to do. Me and math are not friends, like, at all. But yeah, the brie boatneck pattern, 10 out of 10, would knit it again. It is the summer top of 2026. You heard it here first on bopeepknits. I would definitely test knit again. Emma, just let me know if you ever need another test knitter. Thanks so much for watching this video until the end. I hope that you enjoyed hearing about my first ever test knitting experience. Your girl bopeepknits is doing vlogmas this year, so don't forget to subscribe to this channel so that you don't miss out on all of the fun, festive knitmas content coming your way this December. Also, please check out the Brie boatneck pattern. It'll be in the description box, and follow all of Emma's social media channels so that you can stay up to date on all of her amazing patterns. So until we see each other next, happy knitting!